Continuing with the interaction options when creating a flow, we still have to see the available components under the responses category. This section contains the nodes responsible for generating responses for the end user. Some of these options have already been used in previous examples, but it is worth reviewing them and learning more. The message node allows sending customized messages within a flow, such as an initial greeting. This message is fully customizable, and it is possible to format the text with different styles, using formatting tools such as bold, italics, lists, links, and emojis. We can also insert dynamic variables, such as, for example, the name of the logged-in user. We have already used this component on several occasions. Let's move on to the image node. This option allows us to add images to interactions within a flow. Clicking on Add Image opens a menu to upload an image from the device. In addition, it is also possible to enter a URL directly to use an online image. This menu offers options to adjust the size of the image, including cropping or scaling, and to set its vertical and horizontal position as necessary. We choose an image, allow it to be modified. And as we can see in the preview, the size does not fit the space. So we choose Fit in the Size option. Let's take a look at the behavior. Good. We can also choose to make the content dynamic. This allows us to create dynamic responses and adapt the image content to different contexts. Let's now move on to the link node. This option allows us to create rich links with a customized preview, including title, description, image, and tag, providing additional context to engage the user. If we decide to add an image, clicking on Add Image opens this menu on the left, similar to the image component we saw earlier. We choose an image. Adjust the size option to display it correctly, and enter a title, description, and label. We indicate if we want the link to open in a new window or in the same window, and enter the corresponding URL. We save and test this behavior. It is also possible to make the content dynamic, allowing the preview to adapt to different contexts and situations within the flow. Let's move on to the card option. With this component, it is possible to create interactive cards within a flow, where we can add an image, a title, and a brief description. As in the image and link components, we can add the image by clicking on Add Image. This node allows us to enable or disable text interaction, keep the conversation active, or allow user input. It is also possible to make the content of the card dynamic. Good. Let's complete the title and description. Note that one button is included by default, and we can add more if necessary. If multiple buttons are added, each can be configured to connect to an external function or link, or to define an event. When all buttons are configured as external functions or links, the flow follows a single branch. But if any of the buttons is configured for an event, an additional branch will be generated in the flow for each button conditioned to an event. Let's look at a simple example. We are going to enable two options on our card. Ask about Globant Enterprise AI training content and learn about GeneXus through its website. Let's define the first option. We quickly add a message node with a message to the user, a node of user input type, and connect to a RAG assistant node to interact with the corresponding assistant. Then we add the Go To node to continue with the cycle. We can choose to return to the user input node to continue the conversation, but we will choose to return to the card and allow the user to directly choose another option. Let's test this behavior. Good. Let's now add another button to the card. We enter as title Links of Interest. We choose Quick Reply. Enter GeneXus, and in the menu that is shown, we define that it connects to an external link, and we add the corresponding URL. When defined as an external link, the branch is removed. We say yes. Later in this video, we will look at the Quick Reply component in particular. We also defined another link to access the Globant Enterprise AI site. Let's try it again. We access the first option and ask, what is a RAG assistant? We choose to get to know the website of Globant Enterprise AI. Let's now look at the video option. It allows us to add the URL of a video but does not support YouTube videos. It is also possible to paste the URL of an image into the poster field to use it as a thumbnail or cover of the video. As with the previous components, it is possible to generate dynamic content to adapt the video preview to different contexts within the flow. In addition, this component also allows adding buttons to connect to an external link, define a specific event or action, and set variables that can be used as input to other interactions within the flow. Each additional button can create a new branch in the flow, unless it is configured to connect to a function or an external link, in which case it will follow the same branch. The YouTube component allows you to insert YouTube videos into the flow. To configure it, we must indicate the video identifier in the ID field. It is important to make sure that we enter only the part of the URL that appears after the == outparts. For example, if the URL is this, we only need to enter this. The video thumbnail is automatically generated, so there is no need to add an additional image. This component also offers the option of defining as many buttons as necessary. And like the previous components, it is possible to generate dynamic content using the VTL language. Let's continue with the Quick Reply option. This component adds buttons that we can use to initiate actions or redirect to other flows. We have used it when defining the card component options. Each button is configured by entering its name and selecting an action option. The event option allows redirecting the response to the desired flow. External link redirects the user to a website, taking them out of the current flow. An external function allows running an external function. This node also offers additional behavioral configurations. We can disable the text interaction, keep the conversation active, or enable user input. By default, the enabled user input option is active, which means that if we add several buttons, a branch will be generated in the flow for each button configured as an event. As for the buttons configured as functions or external links, they will not create new branches and will follow the same line in the flow. Let's now look at the date picker option. This component allows us to select a date within a flow, displaying fields to choose the month, day, and year. It is possible to set the date display format. Select available dates. Connect the selector to a specific event and assign the selected value to a variable. Like the previous components, this node offers additional configuration options and allows for the generation of dynamic content. Let's continue with dropdown. This component allows the end user to select an option from a predefined list. To configure this node, we select Edit. And in the menu on the left, we define the behavior. The selected value can be assigned to a variable or entity. Let's define the new option variable. In addition, in the drop-down list, we indicate the options that will be offered. These options can be numbers, letters, phrases, or a combination of all of them. Each option can be associated with a specific response flow. As an example, we indicate GeneXus Next and Globant Enterprise AI. Once the options have been defined in the drop-down list, to configure each value, we go to the node and select each option in the Select option box. In the left menu then, we configure the actions to be performed when the user selects that option. These actions may include the execution of specific flows or any other logic that needs to be associated with the selected option. In our example, each option will be associated with an event so that the user can make queries on one or another topic. We already have the drop-down event associated with the first option. And for the second option, we enter the name of a new event. We see that a new branch is added. We then complete the definition of each branch. With message nodes, user input, the corresponding RAG assistants to resolve user queries and the respective go-to nodes. Let's try it. We choose GeneXus Next and make a query. Then we chose Globant Enterprise AI and make another query. Good. Finally, we come to the carousel option. This component works similarly to the card component, but with a different visual presentation that allows multiple cards to be displayed in a rotating format. We can add an image, title, and description to each card, as we have seen above. It is possible to trigger an event by clicking on the action button, which can redirect to another flow, to an event, website, or page, or execute an external function. As an example, let's define 3 cards in our carousel. One for Globant Enterprise AI, one for GeneXus Next, and one for GeneXus Next Start. The button associated with the Globant Enterprise AI card will direct to its website. So we indicate the image, enter a title, description, and configure the link. To add the corresponding card to GeneXus Next, we select the icon with the plus sign. We then add a button and repeat the process. But this time we associate the button with an event. In this case, the user will be able to make a query about this low-code development platform. We write the name of a new event and configure the flow. For that, we add a message node, user input, the corresponding RAG assistant, and the go to node that allows us to return to the carousel. We now add another card for Jinx's next start. This option will take the user to the no-code platform test site. We already know how to do it. Let's test the flow. We see the carousel. The first option that leads to the Globant Enterprise AI site. The second option that allows us to make a query about GeneXus Next. And the last option allows the user to access the GeneXus Next Start Test site. In this way, we have seen all the interactions available when creating a flow